Hello guys, can you just imagine waking up one morning and everywhere looks cloudy, blurry, foggy and dim? You might think it's weather. It is not weather, but it is your eyes. And you know the scary aspect of it? This warning sign has been with you all this while, but you are probably ignoring or missing it. But right in this video, I'm going to unleash 10 cataract yearly signs and symptoms that you might probably be ignoring or missing. And mind you, this tiny clue I'm about to unleash might silently steal your vision if you don't act now. If you are watching my video for the first time, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Subscription is free. Like and comment on my video. If you have any question or any opinion, please put it right at the comment section. And if you are a returning subscriber, I pray God bless you. I'm still that your humble brother and your friend, Stephen Oluwatumininu. 10 yearly cataract signs and symptoms that you might probably be ignoring or missing. What is cataract? Cataract is opacity of natural crystalline lens. Now, when you were first given birth to or when you were still young, your lens is usually transparent, clear, which allow its function of refracting or bending the light to focus on the retina for there to be a clear and perfect vision. Let's also partake in what we call accommodation, which is the ability of an eye to focus at a close and distant object, and this takes place with the help of the suspensory ligament, which is attached to the lens, which is further attached to ciliary muscles. When the ciliary muscles contract, it pulls this suspensory ligament, which further pulls the lens becomes elongated and updrawn, which allow it to project the focal point of the light to be on the retina when we want to focus at a distant object. And when the ciliary muscle relax, it releases the suspensory ligament, which further release the lens, and the lens become now more biconvex, allow it to perform its function to project the focal point of the light to be on the retina when we want to view a close object, especially when we want to read. Now, as a result of advance in age, smoking, diabetes, when there is metabolic changes or prolonged exposure to ultraviolet rays, all these things causes the protein content in the lens to begin to clump up. It begins to clump, now causing a kind of cloudiness, gradual opacity of the lens begins to take place, and it now affects the function of the lens. It affects the capacity of the lens to further project the focal point of the light to be on the retina, because it needs to be on the retina for there to be a clear and perfect vision. But in this case, as a result of this clumping of the protein content in the lens, and which result into gradual cloudiness, it affects the lens capacity to bring about this refraction. So the focal point of the light now falls either before the retina or after or behind the retina, and that is why our reading ability becomes very, very difficult. That is why when you begin to read, you might be jumping lights, it might begin, appear blurring and different manifestations of reading disabilities. Now, if you now fortunately for you, if you now go to hospital and you are now being refracted for glasses, the moment they give you the appropriate power, you say, yes, I can say, it's clear now, it's clear. And this is just to complement the loss effect of the lens. The lens now is losing its capacity to bring about the refraction. Now, as a result of that, they will now complement with the external glasses to complement the loss effect of that lens. And this is how difficulty in reading tiny words as one of the early signs of cataract comes in. The second point as one of the early cataract sign is cloudiness, cloudy vision or blurring vision. An individual can begin to see a kind of a cloudy vision or blurring vision when cataract begins to develop. Just like I've explained, now we said the focal point of the light needs to be right on the retina for us to have a clear vision. But as a result of all this prolonged exposure to ultraviolet ray, either smoking or diabetes, that brings about metabolic changes, they affect the protein content of the lens to begin to clump up, which now affect the function of the lens to project the focal point of the light to be on the retina. In this case, when we now want to focus at a distant object, the vision becomes cloudy, becomes foggy, blurring, as if when leather is being used to cover your face. You might even be looking as if you are seeing smoke, in your field of vision. Yes, this is how it comes in. It is due to all these changes that occur to the protein content of the lens that affect the refractive capacity of the lens in projecting the focal point of the light to be rightly on the retina. Now it's now falling behind the retina. In difficulty reading, it falls before the retina, and this is how it comes to stay. And the third one I shall be discussing is difficulty in recognizing faces from a distance. Now, there was a man that usually attended our clinic. The man has already attended the clinic, and we've explained to him on examination that he is developing cataract gradually, so that all the signs and symptoms that he has been complaining of, when he begins to see them, when they becoming more obvious, he should know that it is cataract that is developing. But he got to a stage that this man, he began to be disturbed. He now traveled for like 8 months. On coming back, he came to me and said, "My son, you told me that I'm not getting blind, that I won't get blind, that is cataract, but now I'm getting blind though." I said, "Baba, what has happened?" He said he cannot recognize faces of people when coming from afar, and he can see everything. I said, "Yes, I know you can see very clearly." He told me he can see all these people passing at a distance. He even told me there was a building a bit far from our clinic. He said he can see. I said, "You know," but he said he cannot recognize faces of people, especially except when they begin to come closer. I said, "I understand." What I used to answer him was that I said, "Baba, can you see that building you are talking about, that tall building which was located a bit far from our clinic?" He said he can see. I now said, "There's one iron on top of that building, and that is a thunder receptor. You know, thunder receptor usually have 3 fingers, the positive, negative, and the neutron." I now said, "Baba, can you see that iron?" He said he can see. I said, "How many fingers does it have?" He said, "Maybe 4, 5. I said, "Exactly. That is exactly what happens, that you can't recognize faces of people except when they come closer to you. You told me that you can see all the objects from afar. That is why I cited this example." That is exactly what usually happens when cataract is coming up. 10 early signs of cataract. One of them is this one that I'm talking about, which is difficulty in recognizing faces of people from afar. And simply it occurs as a result of the explanation I've made, which is the distortion in the lens capability to project the focal point of the light on the retina for there to be a clear and perfect vision. But as a result of proteins in the lens which clump together, causing a cloudiness, causing a kind of blurring, now we project the focal point of the light behind the retina. And that is why, seeing afar, you can see, but you might not be able to recognize faces of people coming from afar, except when they come very close to you. Another one among the 10 yearly cataract signs and symptoms is frequent changes of glasses or lens power. Now, lens in our eyes has lost its effect of, refraction, that is projecting the focal point of the light on the retina. Now we need an external lens, which is glasses, to complement the lost effect of this lens. And that is why when you were given glasses, you'll be able to read more, better, and clearer. But now, when you were given glasses, after using it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, now maximum 4 years, you will realize that these glasses will no longer help you. Reason being that, this clumsiness of the protein content in the lens is continuous, it's happening continuously. The cloudiness is increasing, becoming more obvious, whereas the power of the glasses you were given remains the same. So you need to consistently be refracting your eye so that they can continue to increase the power of your glasses to complement the present state of the natural lens in the eye. And let me tell you, these are one of those things that people might not tell you. Giving you glasses cannot help you to clear away the fogginess or the cloudiness of your distant vision. Let me come again. Glasses cannot remove the cloudiness or the fogginess of vision you are viewing when looking at a distance. It can only help your reading ability. So don't let anybody deceive you. Glasses can only help your reading ability. So now, instead of you using your glasses for 3 or maximum of 4 years, you will now realize that every 1-2 years it will no longer be effective again. You will need to go to the hospital for them to do the refraction again for you to be given a new glasses. It is a sign that cataract is coming up in your eyes. Another point that we shall be discussing among the 10 yearly cataract signs and symptoms that you might probably be ignoring or missing is poor night vision. Now, some people might find it difficult to see very clearly in the night or when there's a dim light. Reason being that normally the lens has already lost its effect or capacity of proper refraction, that is putting the focal point of the light on the retina. That is number one. And number two, in the night there is usually decreased light ray. So these 2 points, contribute and comes together and further reduce the ray of light entering the eye, the one that is reaching the retina, and likewise it affects the perception of the light by the photoreceptors of the lens and also the interpretation by the brain. And that is why seeing at night or in a dim light vision might be somehow difficult or might not be that very clear. Among the 10 yearly cataract signs and symptoms that we have been discussing, another point that we shall be discussing is diplopia, which is double vision. Now, the protein content in the lens clump up, now present irregular surface of the lens. The lens is biconvex in nature, which allow its convexibility, bringing the light rays at a particular point. But now the clumpiness of this protein content in the lens present the lens surface to become somehow irregular, and the light now that is being projected on this lens now will also be in a regular shape, and that is how it reaches the retina, and that is how the photoreceptors in the retina will pick, perceive it, and pass it to the brain, and the brain will interpret it as being double vision, instead of allowing the ray of light to convey at the focal point, that is a particular point. But now they are being distorted, that is the ability of the lens to refract the light, to bring it together, has now been altered. So they were now being presented in a different rays to the retina, and the retina perceives it that way, and the brain is being interpreted that way. Now that is why when you now see an image, it presents as two, or begin to see an image to appear as double. Another thing is, it usually occurs in one eye. Now, cataract gradually starts developing in one eye, while the other might still be performing its function. But now, the other eye, remember, is performing its function. The refraction in bringing the focal point of a light on the retina is still happening in that other eye. So opening 2 eyes at a time, don't be deceived. One will be seeing right, one will be seeing something distorted. So except when you close that good eye, and this one, that's why you now begin to see what you are expected to see. So among the 10 yearly cataract signs and symptoms that we might be ignoring is the one that we've just discussed. Another one that we shall be discussed is color halos, that is, or yellowish of color. Honestly, this protein content of the lens that begins to clump up, causing a cloudiness, gradual opacity of the lens, affect the color presentation and perception by the retina and the brain. That is the way color is being presented to the retina. That is the way the rods and the cones, which are the photoreceptors in the retina, perceive it, and whatever is being perceived is what it is being transmitted to the brain for interpretation. This cloudiness, this fogginess, clumping together of the protein content in the lens affects its functions, to be able to perceive color rightly. Another one we shall be talking about is increased sensitivity to light, which is photophobia. Now, because of the ability of the lens or inability of the lens to convey the light to become a focal point to be projected right on the retina, the light travels in rays and they will now be presented to the retina in that different ways, and this leads to overstimulation of the photoreceptors, and this overstimulation also now exaggerates the signal to the brain, and the brain receives the exaggerated signal and interpret it, and that is why you begin to have a kind of uneasiness when focusing at a bright light, or you might feel a kind of discomfort when you focus at a bright light. Another one we shall be discussing is eye fatigue or strain. That is after a prolonged reading or a prolonged screen time. Like I said accommodation takes place with the help of the ciliary modules, the suspensory ligament and the lens. Now I said when the suspensory ligament is being pulled by the ciliary modules, it further pulls the lens. Now in an attempt to compensate the lost effect of the lens, the ciliary module will begin to contract, consistent contraction, in an attempt to bring the focal point of the light on the retina when it's falling before or behind the retina. And these consistent actions now makes the ciliary modules to become overworked, which easily leads to eye fatigue or strain in the eye, especially when you are trying to read for a long time or prolonged screen time. Another one we shall be discussing is the distorted appearance of objects. That is, the protein content in the lens makes the lens surface to be irregular, and it affects the refraction of the light, which is being further transmitted to the retina, and the way retina perceive it is exact way it will transmit it to the brain for interpretation. Now, because the lens now can no longer converge the light, bringing it to a focal point to be focused on the retina, it is now being focused in a different ways, and it appears irregular. When it reaches the retina perceives it that way and further project it to the brain for interpretation, and that is why you might see a line becoming in a zigzag or look tortured in that way. What are we talking about? 10 early cataract signs and symptoms that you might probably be ignoring or missing. All these signs and symptoms that we've mentioned so far are signs that you are developing cataract gradually. Please, you need to act now so that you will not silently be losing your vision. Please, let's endeavor to go for regular eye examination for us to be able to know the present state of our eyes and our vision, and also for early diagnosis and prompt treatment. And if you want more of this information, just visit Stephen Oluwatumininu on YouTube. You have more information on eye, the foods that you can eat to improve your eyesight, eye exercise to improve your eyesight, all the information in regarding to how you can protect and improve your eyesight is rightly there on my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Subscription is free, and turn on the notification bell beside it so that anytime my video comes out, you will be notified. Thanks, and God bless you for watching my video.